goes in this very like introspective swirl of different like ethics and morality in the future and who are we and what are we doing, and it is into this mind morass that I read Dracula #1 from Image, which
Oh boy.
ooh,
Well,
which all of us read, so we can all talk about in a shocking plot twist for regular listeners. We all read the same book this week. That is not the show topic.
Well, fortunately, Image was nice enough to give us a nice preview at this book. They sent over a copy, which was it's from my favorite creative team on the planet right now, which is James Tynion and Martin Simmonds. And if you've never heard of them, maybe you have. You've seen their book, Department of Truth, which is maybe the best Image book that you can buy, in my opinion. But they're also working on this 5-issue miniseries called Universal Monsters Dracula, and we read the first issue. So, Kara, what's this book all about?
So, I don't know if you've read the original Dracula. I myself happen to have a copy of it right here.
Oh, actual Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Actual Dracula. So when I first read the actual Dracula novel, I was surprised by all these characters that we don't know about in pop culture. Because I think at this point, Western pop culture has pretty firmly become saturated with, we know who Dracula is, we know who Van Helsing is. Your mileage may vary on knowing who Mina Harker is if you were really into League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And then there's like a bunch of other characters in this book where you're just like, they take up a lot of the book and we just don't know about them. And one of those characters is Renfield, who's this dude in a psych ward who's eating bugs and saying weird cryptic shit. And he's like a recurring character, and he is almost unknown in like general pop culture. And the first issue of this comic book focuses on him in a way that is strikingly similar to how the Joker is portrayed in Arkham Asylum. There's a lot of like hollowed out eyes and abstract, like the face is not fully defined to reflect the inner mental state. So I thought it was an interesting approach to start a Dracula book talking about one of these characters that's not as well known, because it gives the creative team a little more leeway to do what they want with that.
Totally.
So I thought it was a really good, intriguing start in that regard.
Yeah. Well, Danny, you were the person that kind of put this on the map for us to say, like, hey, we should all check this book out this week. It's spooky season. I'm really curious to know what you thought of this book.
Thanks, Mike. So I've been really excited for this book because I inadvertently have been kind of on a Dracula kick this year. There was the Renfield movie, which was weird that Renfield is having kind of a moment in 2020 because, like Kara mentioned, he's not a very well-known character in pop culture.
Sure.
I only know about Renfield from the Renfield movie, which was not very good, but at least I learned who the character was. And then I also watched The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is based on a chapter from the Dracula novel. So, like, there's all this tangential Dracula stuff. Of course, I also love James Tynion. I love Martin Simmonds. I will say I'm not, like, too knowledgeable about Universal Monsters, but I love the concept as a whole. Like, when Universal was like, yeah, we're going to do a whole new movie universe, and we're going to start with Dracula Untold. And then that went nowhere. Yeah. And then they tried again a couple more times, and that went nowhere. I was very excited and then disappointed. But
I saw Dracula Untold for the first time the other day, and I was like, why is this bad? Like, it does not have to be this bad. I didn't even know that was supposed to be the kickoff for their monster universe. I thought the kickoff was The Mummy starring...
Well, that was the second attempt. Okay.
Yeah. And that's where they were like, and the gang's all here. And I was like, oh, this is cool, except this movie also sucks. Why does this movie suck?
Yeah. But this comic does not suck. This comic is amazing. It is amazing. Like, I don't understand how James Tynion can do everything that he's doing in comics. Like, all the things that he's writing. And then, obviously, this isn't a creator. There's a letter in the back of the book, actually, that I normally don't read stuff. But, I mean, this is James Tynion talking to the audience. So, of course, I want to check it out. Where he talks about that, you know, how it's a little bit different. It's kind of like creator-owned, but not really. Like, you know, so they have a whole plan for this, which I'm sure as Skybound gathers IP, to roll out into their comics. And then Martin Simmonds art. Oh my God, there's just some really haunting stuff.
Great.
I can't wait to get this physically because there's a few pages that are broken up in the PDF that it's a full spread that you need to see all together. Totally. So yeah, very excited. I'm glad we all read it. But Mike, what did you think of the book?
Well, I did want to respond a little bit to one thing you said. You asked how can James Tynion do all of this? I feel like a lot of this book is carried by Martin Simmonds. Like James Tynion, I think we all know, very talented writer. On the whole, I think he's made more better books than worse. This is one of those better books, I think. But for this specific issue, I feel like the art carries it so much. It really didn't matter what Renfield was saying, what all of the extra characters in the book were saying. This book could have carried itself as a silent comic with just Simmonds' art because everything is so well depicted in the art. But yeah, this book is incredibly looking. I didn't know what to think at first because I was worried like, oh, this is just an IP farm thing. I think we're like swinging back from this. Everyone's doing IP, and then that kind of just all dipped down, and now Skybound is doing their own thing. And for some reason, they're like hooking up with people that actually really want to tell stories, and whoever's licensing these IPs are actually willing to take risks, right? Like Transformers #1, I felt was like a pretty big risk for a comic book. I feel like this Dracula book, they're pulling clearly from a lot of the older Universal Pictures movies. And it's, I think especially some of the stuff when we see Dracula in the book. But on the whole, this feels like a different perspective on a story that everybody seems to already know, which is Dracula gonna come suck your blood. That's the summary. That's the byline.
He's coming.
Dracula's coming. That's a different movie, but still, it's overall, I really liked the way that we got the weaving in and out of Renfield's mind to what was happening with Dracula, which makes me wonder what the hell is the rest of this book even going to be about. I hope it's not just this, but if it is, I'd almost be satisfied because it's such a beautiful like sequence of pages that we get about how Dracula operates in the night. There's not this, he's there, and then the next panel, he's at this person's neck. It's like a dream like state that we're getting to witness through Martin Simmonds' art. So I'm very pumped about this. I really, really like this issue way more than I thought I was going to.
My only thing is if they don't do a Creature of the Black Lagoon book, why did we even start this at all? Right. Like, why?
Because the Creature of the Black Lagoon is cringe as hell, I think. But that's just me.
Guillermo del Toro won an Oscar remaking that story. Okay.
Listen, Guillermo del Toro could win an Oscar remaking like the Rugrats movie, okay? That's not about the story, okay?
I would watch that.
Guillermo del Toro, okay?
I would watch that. It'd be very sad. Like, really, really sad.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we all get to check this out. This is a pretty solid book, so I guess we'll have to follow up in subsequent episodes of the show as this series comes out, but